Yeah, do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Vote, protest,
Yeah.
educate, pray, something. Because
Something.
it's not going to be good. All right. Going from one real villain to another. This week we had the season finale of HBO's The Penguin.
Yes.
This was the ending to what I think is one of this year's best shows, hands
Yeah.
down. We can talk later if it's maybe one of the best comic book shows ever as well. But first, let's just talk about the season finale itself. Of course, it was the final showdown between Sofia and Oz, and with Sofia finding out that Oz's mother was alive and that she held so much sentimental value, she decides she wants to make him suffer.
Yeah.
And we immediately get Julian Rush to use his therapeutic measures to find out exactly what happened to Oz's brothers from the mother's perspective.
Right.
And we open with the flashback scene and into the scene at Monroe's. What do you think about this opening and just the setup and how everything
Initially,
transpired?
it took me a while to figure out what was going on. I was like, "What? Why is she seeing her younger self?" And then, yeah, it confused me for a little bit. And then everything came together when you saw Rush and Sophia in the jazz club as well. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of cool how that
Mm-hmm.
all meshed together." But yeah, that opening scene was very interesting, and it was I think it was just the episode before when we put together what happened to his brothers. That was one of the biggest shocks of this season.
Right.
I was like, "What?"
I had a I had an inkling that he wasn't telling the whole truth about
Yeah,
what happened to them,
right.
but that was never
No,
in my lexicon that he had killed them.
no, and he was
But
so chill about it was the thing. That's what caught me off guard, and um, then obviously that comes back up because yeah, there is some resentment for his mother, and she put two and two together and figured out that he was behind it. But yeah, that was
mhm.
crazy. But back to the finale, yeah, I thought that opening scene was really well done and a great way to kind of lead us into what was coming next.
Yeah. Yeah, the opening scene kind of revealed uh that they both rely on to each other to sort of
Hmm.
like coexist in this somewhat fractured family,
Right.
and it reveals that uh Oz is a sociopath. He's
Yeah.
deeply flawed. Um doesn't really feel anything other than a very unnatural relationship with his mother.
Yeah. A natural is putting it kindly.
Yes. So that's revealed. And then we have his mom finally let him know that she knows, and
Hmm.
just she releases all that resentment, years of resentment upon him to the point where she stabs him with a
A
broken
bottle.
bottle.
Yeah.
That took me by surprise. And then she has a moment. She sees Jack and Benny's ghost and she has a stroke.
Yeah.
And this was crazy. Like Oz moving all on adrenaline to carry her out
Right.
like Quasimodo and Esmeralda. Like it was kind of crazy.
It was a lot going on and shooting somebody as he was doing it. Yeah, it was.
Right, right. So he evades Sophia once again. Um, and speaking of her, she thinks she's going to be able to free herself from the bondage of Gotham and sort of like um her this prison, like everything,
Yeah.
the system, the game, and she's got a plan to sort of leave everything to whoever can find Oz first, and burning down the house, and she gets a surprise, the surprise of her life, really, when Vic and Link, who was Zal's secondhand man, sort of make this plot to turn on Sophia.
Hmm.
And it was very clever that Oz figured out a way to give her a punishment worse than death, which was what would have been another form of freedom. He sends her back to Arkham.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought that was clever too because I did that final showdown. I thought it was like, oh, he's just gonna kill her, and then yeah, that is much worse for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was a lot that happened. One thing, I don't know if I was expecting, this finale to be like all guns blazing, but in a way, this was somehow more exciting than that. It was more psychological and it
Mm-hmm.
was more, I think, damaging than had it been guns blazing. But
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, it was good.
cause I will say one thing that has fallen as a trope with Marvel and all their properties really is that everything ends in a big heroic
Right, bang,
showdown.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
just expected. And Act All Along kind of did that in a way, but sort of inverted that trope, which was good, but everything else kind of falls into that thing. I'm glad this sort of went in a different direction. So Sophia unfortunately goes back to Arkham with Penguin pinning the bombing, the killing of Salvatore, and everything else on Sophia, the
yeah,
quote unquote hangman. Um, but there was sort of like a light at the end of the tunnel for her, as a benevolent person sent her a letter, giving us another hint of where this story could lead into the Batman 2, which a nice little touch. I liked how the cameos were just enough. It wasn't like fan service or anything too
right, right,
heavy. So then um Oz gets his mom to a hospital and everything. He's so happy that he sort of defeated Sophia and sort of rose above, and his mother stroke was very severe to the point where she's left in a vegetative state.
yeah,
Something she did not want. She told Oz
right. She
time and time
told him, yeah,
again, like if she reached that point, just to pull the plug. And he doesn't.
yeah,
Another sort of sign of his inability to do anything for anybody else that doesn't really serve him.
right,
And Vic is right by his side in the hospital room comforting him, and then we see them sort of leave the hospital. Um and what were your thoughts during this final scene with Oz and Vic?
um, I I had an inkling maybe a few episodes ago that it didn't, the relationship seemed too good for it to end well for Vic. Honestly, it just didn't seem like Oz was that trustworthy of a person, and um, I feel like he kind of gave a hint to us and maybe even Vic when Vic kills Squid and tells him it gets easier. And we quite literally see how easy it is for him to kill people because here's this kid that he has had around him. He's fed, he's clothed, he's housed, and then
Mm-hmm.
just what was the regular talk? Just he chokes him out very
Yeah.
easily and just yeah,
With his bare hands, not
with his
like a
bare hands.
gun to make it
No,
fast or
no,
anything, but just literally chokes
just
the
his
life
hand.
out of him.
Right.
All
But
while saying
but
good things.
right, yeah, that's the crazy thing. He's like, you got a good heart, you're a good kid, blah blah blah, and then he just walks off. I was like, what?
Throws the license in the river, so he's just like an
Right,
unidentified person. So yeah, Oz is a sociopath, and I think
absolutely.
other than the comics, I don't think we've seen a villain in Batman be portrayed like this on screen. Yeah, the Joker is more of like a chaos agent.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't think people expected this from the Penguin. Like he was just always sort of like a laughable gangster or formidable mutant from Batman Returns, but he was never sort of like this, I don't know, just seemingly crazy person in plain sight.
Right,
Like
yeah, yeah,
so unpredictable, so insidious. And the final shot with him and Eve, girl, run. What are you doing?
right, yeah. Like that, and that just took his mom thing to a different level. That was even, I thought it was off the chain as he was a kid and even as an adult when he was laying with her. And but that part may have pushed over the edge. Like, hold on, what?
Yeah, that was thick, as they say.
Yeah, it's not great.
Um, and Eve, like, I don't know what you get out of this relationship. He thinks you're
Hmm.
his mother.
Yeah,
who isn't
That's not
dead
good.
but is not capable to do anything.
Yeah, that's
Whew.
strange.
So yeah, 10 out of 10 for
Mm-hmm.
this show. The Emmys are coming, the Golden Globes are coming, like the awards will be coming.
Yeah.
What do you think of just watching this and knowing what it's going to be when the Batman comes in 2 years? What do you see happening in the Matt Reeves future projects? Like, what are your hypotheses, or what would you like to see, or think that's going to happen?
I like the atmosphere of his movies and shows. Batman in this. Now, this had been made for TV, but the Batman was very dark. It was very heavy. It was much different than, Batman's prior to it. So I like that about them. As for what comes in the Batman Part 2, I have no clue. I hope we see um, Sophia, or
Yeah.
something. I hope her story needs to continue somewhere because she's
Mm-hmm.
a really good character. Um, and I don't know much about the Batman family tree and all that, but I didn't realize the connection with her and Selena Kyle. I didn't know if that was just made up or how that
Yeah,
actually worked.
it may be in the lore somewhere, but for
Yeah,
this particular universe, it's they're half sisters, which is very interesting.
yeah. So
Um, yeah, all I know so far about Batman 2, there's rumors that Hush may be a major
hmm,
villain. And all I know about him is that he somehow impersonates Bruce Wayne. Like he's a character that can sort of change his face in some way.
yeah.
Um, I've also heard that Dr. Freeze or Mr. Freeze is supposed to
Oh
be.
yeah,
I don't know how you would make that more grounded. Will
yeah.
he just
I don't
be
know.
into kybernetic? Like, I don't know how you would do that. And then there was rumors that they may touch on the Count of Owls or the Court of Owls, which was
Hmm,
like a secret society within Gotham's underbelly that sort of orchestrated certain things. And they kind of pointed to that in the first one with his father's sort of dirty deeds and like resistance to the corruption, but sort of being involved in that. So it could
yeah.
go anyway. We still don't really know. Those were just rumors and hearsay, but
This could be
we know
interesting.
that Colin's supposed to return allegedly for Batman 2 and Batman 3. So there's supposed to be 3 films. There may be future series that come up as well. I know originally they wanted to do an Arkham series and a series about a GCPD, but those kind of morphed through the process. Um, there was rumors about the Joker having a series, and then James Gunn came out and said, "No, that's not
No.
happening." Which I'm glad. We need to let the Joker go.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think one of the reasons why this show is so great is because it doesn't involve Joker or Harley. It's like a totally different rogue gallery we are focusing on. So yeah,
well, for me, I think this is one of the best shows I've seen this year, easily. And for a fact, two of the top three performances I've seen from Colin Farrell and Kristen Milioti. I'm not sure I said her last name right, but I just did not expect them to go off like that. And it was every episode. And you go for Colin Farrell, you think about the prosthetics he had to wear and the suit he has on, and he's not a
hmm
big man at all. So he's putting his body through a lot to carry all that
yeah,
around. And
yeah.
yeah,
And for Kristen to be like introduced with this show as
hmm,
this side character, she was basically the second lead. Like they
absolutely,
are the
yeah,
leads of this show. And Deirdre O'Connell as Frances,
yeah, she killed it.
she
That's
killed
a
it.
lot of physical work she had to do to yeah,
Yeah.
it's very,
And
very good.
even Renzi Falez to
Yeah,
grow that stutter
yeah,
consistently and make it feel real and not like a forcing it. That was great
right,
work too. Like everyone was amazing. The writing, the directing. I need to go back and listen to the podcast because they probably go
yeah,
into depth a lot on the show. Yeah, definitely top two, and it may be number one. I'm going between this and Shogun. I don't know which was better. They're very
yeah,
close.
yeah. I don't
But
know.
But yeah, that is The Penguin. All 8 episodes are available to stream on Max, and I hope this is it. I don't want a second season. You just watch him go through whatever in the next films, and then focus on another villain or something in a show.
A second season would tarnish this first one. Like it would. This is one of those things you just leave. Just.
Welcome back to another episode of It's a Streamable podcast with Brandon and Lorin. We are in the depths of November, returning back to you with a new episode after a short hiatus. But we are post 2024 election of the United States, and unfortunately, the outcome was not what a lot of people were hoping.
No, it was nothing close to what they would expect
at all. I was surprised at how not close it was.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I had an inkling that he was going to win, and I think what it was just I just think anybody close to Biden was going to lose. It's going to have to take something spectacular for it's something completely different. But
yeah,
I don't know. I guess now we just have to buckle down and see where things go from here.
Yeah, it's highly unfortunate, and this could definitely change the makeup of our country for
Decades.
a generation at least.
Yeah.
Like, people just don't understand what was at stake.
No.
The Democrats definitely didn't understand because
no. Yeah, they didn't even try. So I don't know. Literally, there's nothing left to do until to see what happens January 20th. You know, we know who Trump is. We know he talks a big game. And I guess the difference this time around is he has nobody stopping him.
Right.
You know? So,
and it could just get worse. And someone pointed out that the inauguration this year falls on MLK Day.
Yeah. I know for a fact he's going to say something in his speech.
Something vile, and foul.
I just,
here's my MLK was a great guy, Shut up.
I hate him, but he is so accidentally funny. Some of the stuff he does is just hilarious, and it's just like, oh my god, the Ruth Bader Ginsburg thing is gonna go down in history. He's just like, hold on for a second, this is the first time I hear it. That still gets me, but yeah, these next 4 years are gonna be horrible. So everybody needs to get ready and start doing what they need to do for 2026, so we can at least change Congress. Let it go. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll be good. We'll survive. All right, that was our feature presentation on The Penguin, and now we're going to transition to our streams of the week. All right, so I watched a lot. I'm surprised how much I actually watched. I'll make it quick with the shows. I finished The English Teacher, which was really fun. Really enjoyed that. Comedy about high school teachers in modern day. Kind of pokes fun at sort of like the liberal white trying to be woke type things. It has a lot of heart, but it is an adult comedy. Finished A Diplomat season 2 on Netflix. Only 6 episodes, but really good. Allison Janney joined this season, and she will be in the next season as well. Agatha All Along was a very strong showing for Marvel. One of the better shows this year, and definitely one of the better Marvel projects in a long while. That's going to be it's already submitted for comedy series, so I'm expecting there will be a second season. But kudos to Catherine Hahn, Patti LuPone, Sashir Zamata was amazing, and Joe Locke. Like, there will be some awards for them. I finished Disclaimer on Apple. It definitely ended differently than what I was expecting. Very different ending, but it also could have just been a film. Like, I didn't need 7 weeks to get into this story.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I still need to check that out, so I'll keep that in mind as I watch it.
Yeah. Woman of the Hour on
Yeah.
Netflix, really good. Anna Kendrick's feature directorial debut about the real true story about a woman who is contestant on the dating game, and the bachelor she's paired with is a serial killer. So there's like a true crime element to it, but also focuses on just the way society is not safe for women at any given
Right.
point in history. And speaking of unsafety for women, I watched the documentary Black Box Diaries. It's produced by a journalist, and she's basically chronicling the investigation she's doing into her own rape. She worked for one of the biggest papers in Japan, and her boss rapes her, and tries to get away with it. So
I saw that. I saw the trailer for that. Yeah.
it's really good. Just a
Yeah.
harrowing account of what women face all over the world, basically,
Yeah.
and how Me Too hasn't really reached every industry yet.
Right. Yeah.
Finally watched Rustin. It was fine. Like, Coleman Domingo is good, Jeffrey Wright is good, but it was very much like paint by numbers biopic. Like, I could have, yeah. And then I rented Longlegs. I'm gonna start renting more movies on Vudu.
Yeah, I can't believe that's not out for free yet. Like,
It was only $5.99. Like, I literally
okay.
wait months until that shit drops. I'm not paying $20 for.
No, for it to sit there for 48 hours or whatever. Like, go to hell.
Right. But Longlegs, that was fine as well. I was expecting a
Yeah.
bit more the way people were kind of raving about it. Good performances, but it wasn't as bombastic as I was expecting. It is
Okay.
creepy, but it wasn't all that. I don't know why people were
Okay.
going up in arms about. I think it was just like the Nicolas Cage element,
Right. Yeah.
because people go up for him. Blair Underwood was really good in it, though. I didn't even know he was in the movie, but
Oh wow.
he's good. So yeah, that's all I watched and finished,
Okay.
actually.
Well, I watched a couple things. I've been busy, but I watched this movie Close, and this was a movie that came out a while ago. It was kind of big
Ooh.
on the um film circuit, and it's about two young boys who are friends, and they have a very close relationship, and they're not in a relationship with ever. They're just like 13, 14, but at that age, people are teasing them because they hang out with one another, they spend
Mm-hmm.
time with one another, and eventually one of the boys kind of starts to separate and hangs out with other people, and this pushes the other boy away, and whatever, people will watch it. Unfortunately, that boy ends up committing suicide, and so then what happens is just kind of they follow the other boy and his guilt and how he handles it and deals with
Oh
facing his.
wow.
Yeah, it's much deeper than what you think, but it's very, very good. And it always amazes me when like kids are able to bring stories like this to life, because these boys have to be just 13, 14 as well. So but yeah, it was very good, and I think it's just like an hour and a half, and it's on, oh Lord, well, if you have Comcast, you can just find it through all their movies
Oh,
they
okay.
have for free. So that's how I watched it. And then I finally watched Past Lives. That had been sitting in there forever, and I just was like, you know what? Let me get started on this. And that was very good. That was a very good film,
Yeah, it was
and
really good.
it stars Greta Lee, probably the big name, and then I think his name is Tou. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And then John Magaro as Greta Lee's husband. Those are kind of the three main characters. And this is by Celine Song. And yeah, it just kind of tracks this friendship that started in another country, flips over to the United States. So they kind of split at their teen years, and tracks them as they eventually meet up for like this really one very emotional week between
Yeah.
the two of them. But it was good, really good movie. So yeah, it's one of those movies. It kind of gives me the feeling of Moonlight, that I think it's a movie I only need to watch once. And this is
Right.
like I'm not
Right.
gonna be like, oh, I want to watch a movie. Let me pop in Past Lives. Like, why did I do that to myself?
Yeah, because it's not like a traumatic film, but there's so
No.
much emotional sort of weight on it
Yeah,
that one
exactly.
time is fine, then you just sort of like reminisce on how it made you feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then eventually, I don't know why I put that in parentheses. And then
Oh,
finally,
I saw that, but I was like,
oh, jeez. And then My Brilliant Friend, the show I have been raving and ranting about for probably since 2018 or 19, where I think it started, it finally ended. The series finale was last Monday. Um, it's just an incredible show. It will be on HBO Max, unless they decide to get rid of it from Max, what they sometimes do. You can watch all of it. And yeah, what sucks is that I read the books, so I knew how the story was going to end, but to see it
oh, play out.
in
Yeah.
front of me, yeah, I was like, wow. And and I hate series finales because you're like, oh well, it's just a show. You don't need to get sad about its ending, but you connect to these characters, you invest in the characters, you invest in the show. There are times where I didn't
Mhm.
think the show is coming back. And so to finally make it to the end, there's just like, wow, like, okay, this chapter's closed. I can go obsess over something else, but it was
Right,
very,
right.
very good. So yeah, that's what I checked out this time that
Mm,
we've been going.
okay. I forgot to mention, I finally started watching Gordita Chronicles. This was
Okay.
a family comedy that was on Max before, they Zaslaved everything.
Yeah.
Um, it's about a family from the Dominican Republic who moves to Miami, Florida in the 80s. It's like Everybody
Mm.
Hates Chris, but for the Latino community. So,
Okay.
like, the family moves there because her father gets a job in marketing, and they realize they were expecting to move into, like, this house and live all big with the American
Mm.
dream, and they're living in, like, a little shack. Not a shack, but it's just not
But
what they
like, yeah,
expected.
what they
And
wanted.
seeing,
You're right, right,
yeah,
right.
the culture shock and everything. It's really good and light and really funny. So it's like 10 episodes. They only got one season and then they canceled it um and took it off Max, so you can find it on Tubi.
Mm. Okay. Let's check that out.
Um then we go to what we're watching. The second season of Netflix's Arcane started this past Saturday. Um this premiered back in 2021.
Oh, okay.
It's been a minute. Animation always
Yeah.
takes longer anyway. At the time, it won Netflix's first, it was the first animated streaming series to win an Emmy for Best Animated Program. But it's
Hmm.
based on the video game. Basically, two sisters grow up in the Undercity called Zon, where the city above Piltover kind of rules them as like the have-nots. So there's like a social class warfare, and eventually the two girls get separated on different factions in their city. And the second season is like the culmination of like their estrangement. It's really good. Like the voice casting's amazing, the animation is amazing. They will release three more episodes this Saturday, and then the final three on the 23rd.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a great
Okay.
show. If you never watch it, check out that first season.
Yeah, I'll definitely
Episode
have to.
three, episode three will blow your mind. But it's just an amazing show and a great video game adaptation. So I've been watching that, and then I've been checking out Grotesquerie. Did you stick with that on FX or check that out at all?
I dropped out as soon as Travis Kelsey came in. I was like, I'm good.
They could just got a real actor. Like I don't
Yeah,
understand.
no.
I
And
made
it
it to
started off well. It started off well.
Yeah, I've made it to episode 5.
Okay.
Like, I don't really know what's happening, but I will
Yeah.
say it did start well. Niecy Nash is like
Yeah, she's
acting
killing it.
down, and I really love the dynamics between her family and how like they're all sort of have their own vices and can't really, I don't know what the term is. Like her daughter, like I love that character. I liked a little bit we get Courtney B. Vance.
Yeah.
Um But yeah, it seemed like after episode 5, the show kind of went in a different direction than I was expecting, and it's like feels like a totally different show, which is sort of Murphy's MO.
Yeah, that is exactly what happens every time.
Because the beginning, it feels like a really kind of psychological murder mystery. But then episode 5 all of a sudden feels like Legion. Like what
Yeah,
is
yeah,
not the TV show Legion, the movie Legion with like the
right.
apocalypse and stuff. Like, where did this come from? I don't like anything with the priest. Put your clothes on. Leave us alone.
Yeah.
Like, that stuff was
Yeah,
getting
no.
weird. So I'm on episode 6. I guess I'll finish it,
Yeah.
but
If you'd finish it, then I'll jump back in. But I stopped at the episode where they're like at that weird motel out in the desert.
that's where it got weird. Like,
And yeah, it's they try to make some like David Lynch type episode, and there's too much going on. It's like, what am I watching? Like, what
like
is?
this woman's abused, and then the man. It was like as if sin was like jumping from each person, making them go insane. It's like, where did
Yeah,
this come from?
it's too much.
And who is like this doesn't match with someone trying to taunt her. Like, I don't.
No,
It was getting a
no,
little weird. Too
it
many
was a lot.
stories, like the church story. I really do like Leslie Manville, but I don't know why she has to be a 1940s nurse. Set her in
Yeah,
present day. Like, there's no
yeah,
reason why.
she could be just as evil. Like,
Yeah, there's no reason why to make her look like that. And I know that's Ryan's like touch, but it's annoying.
yeah. So I initially, when I first started watching it, the relationship between Niecy Nash and her daughter was so confusing to me. I was like, I couldn't exactly put it together why she was eating like that, and then as the family dynamic built and
Yeah,
everything, I was like, okay, wow, that's interesting. But
because it was
yeah,
almost
that
like, is this precious? Like, what is
yeah,
happening?
yeah, it was like, what are we watching? Like, this is uncomfortable. Like,
Right. I was just like, can she put some clothes on? Like, what's happening?
right,
But I will say she did a good job in that role. Just
yeah,
finally get the family dynamics, how like they're just sort of a family on the edge,
right,
basically. And Courtney B. Vance sort of like playing this not villain, but just like not a good person when he's
right,
usually
right.
like the studious, sort of righteous person on screen was very interesting. So yeah, there are some good parts. Travis is not one
Not
of
it.
them.
Yeah.
Like,
Let it go.
exactly.
All right. Well, I know I don't have it on here, but I will say that I have. Well, I was on a flight to Atlanta, and I was able to watch one episode of Elsbeth of the first season, and
Oh
so
yes, the
and
first
then I
season
wanted
episodes are actually really good.
and then I wanted to continue it, but then the next flight didn't have a TV, and then the flight back from where I was to Atlanta had one, but didn't have Elsbeth, and then the flight home from Atlanta didn't have television on it. I was like, Jesus Christ. So eventually I'll get to episode 2, but the first episode I really did enjoy. And it
Yeah,
has a good mix of the humor and the crime aspect to it. So yeah, I thought it was very good. So
yeah, I loved that show. It's really good. Yeah, all first season should be on Paramount Plus because I watch it next day anyway.
yeah,
Because I watch Found on Thursdays, which is that comes on the same time.
yeah.
So yeah,
And I should have said it
um,
before, and this is the last thing. I've been keeping up with Matlock. That is actually really good. I really enjoy it. Yeah.
like they're
So
finally letting the side characters like be
yeah,
more 3 dimensional.
right, right.
Yeah, and
So it's been good.
her dilemma intensifies and
Right.
everything. Yeah, it's really good. So yeah, what we're watching next, Thursday, Prime Video's Cross arrives, starring Aldous
Mhm.
Hodge as Alex Cross. I've seen the entire season because I got to screen it and review it. It's really
Okay, yeah,
good. It's really good. I think it's one of the solid shows. And apparently they decided not to adapt one of the books. They just grabbed the character and made like this whole new sort of vision of the character.
yeah.
Um, Most of us know him on screen as either Morgan Freeman or Tyler Perry, but mostly Morgan Freeman, who's played him in 2 films. But yeah, it's a strong show, and Ryan Eagle from New Amsterdam does a really good job.
Okay. Huh. Let me check that out.
And then I'll continue watching Arcane season 2.
Yeah. For me, I need to start disclaimer. my sister and you have both made comments on it now, so I just need to get started and get it going. And then on uh, Thursday, Hulu has a new show called Say Nothing, and this is based on the trouble. It's based on a novel that came about this, but it's about the troubles in Northern Ireland, and this follows like a group that joined the IRA and try to fight back. And so I'm curious. I've seen rumblings about it being good, and then I've seen some things from um, Irish writers saying that it doesn't really capture
Oh.
the vibe of the book. That it looks like it's something made to entertain Americans. So
Gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I guess we'll see for ourselves how it
Right.
is, and yeah,
Right. Okay. All right. Well, this has been another episode of It's a Streamable Life podcast with Brandon and Lauren. We thank you for listening. Please share and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And check us out on YouTube as well under It's a Streamable Life. Until next time, keep on streaming.
peace.